Yes, I am.
Hello, and welcome to Learning the Law, a podcast about all things legal with a focus on current events, where we try to teach you things in an hour. My name is Ashley, aka Phoenix Nymphy, and my co-host, who is the man of the hour, my husband, Ron. This podcast is purely educational and should not be taken as legal advice. Podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship. This podcast is based on our interpretation of relevant law, and any opinions expressed are the opinions of the individual making them and do not reflect the opinions of any firm, company, or other individuals. And Ron is a licensed and practicing attorney in the state of California.
Yes, I am. And I have been for a while, like 1999.
We are officially on Patreon. We need to get our next Patreon video up, but please consider supporting the podcast through there. You can find it on patreon.com/learningthelaw. $1 will get you our Patreon content, and every little bit helps the podcast out, like getting guest people on the show, and other stuff. If you would like to sponsor the podcast, please email us at twolazydogsmedia@gmail.com.
Yep.
So,
Big news this week, I guess.
we're gonna do it. We're addressing it. We are going, we're just gonna go right into this. Yeah.
Okay.
Javier Bardem and his wife are both nominated. Now, if she loses, he can't win. He is praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
Oh, her face. Oh, her face. Her face.
That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me. Wow.
Oh, I didn't catch that one.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
So let's talk about it. First off, we're here to discuss the Oscars slap. We're not here to we're not going to give our opinion on this, because I think everybody has given their opinion on this by this point.
Well,
and to be honest,
we'll give our legal opinion on it.
Give our legal opinion, but as far as the morality of it and anything like that, that's actually not for us to do, because of the color of our skin, because of what we look like. This comes from the Black community themselves. This is a Black community problem. And that is what I've been told by many friends, by many content creators. So we're not here in an official capacity to share our opinion on it, because y'all don't need to know our opinion on that. What we're here, though, is to talk about the slap and how that is not assault. And I actually got caught up in that. Legally speaking, he could have repercussions. But one of the things that I noticed, because I also got caught up in this, is I and many people don't actually know what assault is. Like, we're very confused. Like, people use assault for when they mean battery. And so I want to take this moment, take this as an opportunity to teach the differences between assault and battery, why they tend to be charged together, and just kind of discuss those nuances about what assault actually is, what battery actually is, and why we don't say he batteried. Actually, the term would be he battered, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah. So, but people don't say he battered Chris because that sounds way worse than it actually was. They just say he assaulted him, right? Like if you think about it, assault kind of sounds a little less than batter.
Right.
So
It does, even though legally it's the opposite.
right. So I'm just gonna kind of leave it up to you and I'll just ask you my questions because clearly I don't understand this either. Because I made a TikTok and my TikTok, while it was right, I went back and corrected myself in the comments. It's not legally assault, it's legally battery, what Will did. And
Right.
then the assault came after. Well, was that even an assault when he said, keep my wife's name out of your mouth? That's not assault.
No.
That's just, yeah. So there was never any assault in this particular case. And usually
there was.
Was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
I'm sitting here. I'm here to learn.
okay. An assault at its basic is putting somebody in fear of the use of force. Doesn't require the application of the force. Battery is the application of force.
Okay.
So when Chris Rock said that and Will Smith got up and started going towards him on the stage, your assault is right there.
Okay. Can I
Now,
rebut that?
you can.
Because when if you watch that clip that we just watched, Chris Rock was laughing and he thought Will was coming up to like do something silly or something funny, right?
Yeah, he even refers to him as Richard and not Will.
Yes. So I don't think he had any fear in that moment. So can you call that walk assault?
You can if you're a district attorney.
Okay.
And
by the way, for the record, Chris Rock has decided not to file charges against Will. And as far as we are aware, the DA and the Academy is not going to file a suit, but the Academy they're looking into it to see if they need to do anything because nothing happened in the moment. I would have expected at least like security to escort him off the premises or something. Which that was interesting that
was considered from what I read.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
But I also don't know that it doesn't matter because it's already happened. But as far as the legal stuff goes, that was an interesting choice not to have him escorted off the premises.
They did it, from what I read, it was because it's a live show.
Mm-hmm.
If it had happened during the pre-recorded portion, they would have escorted him out.
That feels backwards. It's you should live escort someone off the stage if they. And I mean,
apparently they thought that the interruption of the live show just would have not been conducive to letting the quote show go on.
Okay. As a post-production, as someone who is in production, I understand that thought process. That's because when you're doing so. Okay, I respect that. I get it. That's a hard decision to make in the moment too. So
I would imagine so.
Yeah, like when and for the record, this is not the first time some crazy stuff has happened at the Oscars. I'm pretty confident John Wayne, didn't he go after a native or something one year on the Oscars, or he did something?
I'm not sure about that. I do know that a streaker took the stage behind David Niven one year. They didn't stop the show for that.
Yeah, 1973. John Wayne and Clint Eastwood both mocked Sasheen Littlefeather.
Is she the one that went up for Brando?
I believe so. Yeah. So they were mocking her and making fun of her and stuff. I don't like Clint Eastwood. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people do. I don't like Clint Eastwood. He's kind of a garbage human being. So this is not the first time some crazy stuff has ever happened on the Oscars. It's just the first time a black guy has done it. So this is not the first time crazy shit happens at the Oscars. Keep in mind, we can't, anyway, going into opinion, I'm trying to separate that. Anyway, I apologize for interrupting you. I did want to make that clarification that right now there are no charges filed against Will Smith.
Correct.
So when we're talking about this, we're just talking about in general how, like, hypothetically, how it could have played out and how, like, if you're not a celebrity, how it probably would have played out for you. I mean, I like Will Smith, I get it, but celebrity privilege is a thing. So
yeah. If it was you or me, we would have been escorted out and arrested.
Right. So I mean, if it was anybody that wasn't a celebrity, they would have been escorted out.
Right.
So but suffice it to say, I'm getting us off topic. So let's get back. I just wanted to clarify those couple of things.
Yeah, your definition of assault is generally the same in every state across the US.
Mm-hmm.
There are little differences, but generally it's the application or the apprehension of the use of force to cause fear.
So, I mean, you could essentially just menacingly stare at someone, and that could be considered assault, couldn't it? Or does it require a specific set of things to be considered assault by,
Generally, you need some kind of act.
Is your light on?
Yeah, my light's on. It's right here.
Really? Okay, we may have to get you a ring light. It's really.
Yeah. What was I saying? So I got off track.
My question was, when you say assault.
Oh, an act. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just staring at someone?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily.
Because I'll be real. I'm a lady. Okay. I get scared by dudes just staring at me sometimes because the way they stare at me. And I am terrified that they're going to follow me to my car and do something to me. Like, that's terrifying. Like, the way someone looks at you, I feel, can be assault.
Okay. Assault is a general intent crime.
Yes.
Okay, not a specific intent time. A specific intent crime is you have to have the specific intent to cause apprehension.
Okay, I'm still so confused.
Okay. I stare at you with the purpose of causing you fear.
Okay.
That is specific intent. If I'm just staring at you and I don't intend on causing you fear,
but you still cause me fear.
It can still be an assault then.
So even if you don't intend, so it's not the intention.
Nope.
It's the
impact. Doesn't. Correct.
Oh, what? You mean we have a law that actually talks about the impact, not the intent for once?
This goes back to English common law, middle age stuff.
So then at that point, it does make sense why the walk up to Chris Rock, even though it originally didn't seem it didn't seem intentionally aggressive. It turned out to be aggressive. So that's why that portion is because so the impact of the walk was assault.
It And the fear doesn't have to come minutes before.
Yeah.
It can come the split second before he gets slapped.
Yeah.
When he realizes that Will's come up there to slap him
Yeah.
or hit him or punch him or kick him or whatever, that's when the assault occurs. The battery occurs at the moment of contact.
Which is the slap itself, is the actual physical contact.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, there are some states where they've kind of combined the two into one charge.
Yeah, they
And
tend to
that,
come together. Assault and battery tend to
Yeah.
be together because it's
Right.
really hard to have one without the other.
Yeah. The easiest way you can have a battery without an assault is if you come up behind somebody and punch them in the head. If they
Oh.
can't see what you're doing,
Yeah.
there is no assault. There can be a battery.
Okay.
If Will Smith missed, it could still be an assault. It could still be an assault.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he didn't connect doesn't mean a crime didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, assaults, these are generally misdemeanors, $1,000 fine, up to 6 months in jail kind of thing. A battery can get into felony.
Okay.
Depending on the use of deadly force, things of that nature. They will charge that as a, quote, assault with deadly weapon.
Ah, okay.
You never hear battery with deadly weapon. It's always assault with deadly weapon. So there is kind of a confusion with the nomenclature of the crimes.
Ah, so the confusion is there because because cops and lawyers actually kind of put it there.
Well, yeah, lawyers make the laws, generally speaking.
Well, yeah. So now I do have a question when it comes to this. Legally speaking, do you think there's any excuse for someone to bitch slap somebody for something they said?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I'm not
And
talking
that
in this particular instance. I'm just talking in generals.
now, in the freedom of speech area,
Right.
there's some things called fighting words.
Okay.
And fighting words are generally not protected under the First Amendment. So if Chris Rock had used, say, a racial slur and Will Smith got up and
Slapped him.
slapped him, he would probably not be found guilty of a battery.
Are there any cases that you can think of where no. Actually, I don't like that question. Do you know what some of those words are?
There is a list. I could look it
So
up.
they actually have a list. I would imagine the N word is on that list.
It is.
Good. So all of these people who are like freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean freedom from consequences. We got to remember that. It doesn't mean freedom from consequences.
Right. And you also got to remember freedom of speech only pertains if there's government action.
It has nothing to do with personal stuff, comedian stuff, whatever. It has nothing. No. So that you can't really claim freedom of speech in this particular case because there was nothing to do with the government.
No, and the government didn't sponsor the show or anything like that. So
right. Okay, interesting. So they do have a specific. Is it an extensive list or is it kind of a generic list?
It's kind of a generic list from case law over the years.
Okay.
And it's, racial slurs are a big part of it.
Right.
Now, you can call somebody an idiot, for an example. Like I think of my brother.
Uh-huh.
That's not fighting words,
Okay.
Now
If I
there
called
are
you an idiot, it's not fighting words. But if I called
Nope.
you an N-word, it's fighting words.
It is.
Yes. Well, okay. The N-word has a history behind it, so that makes sense to me because there's like a long, like 400-year history on how derogatory that is.
Yeah.
But like, what about disparaging comments? I mean, say you are okay, for example, we're going to take you. You're disabled. You don't have a
Yep.
leg. And you walk in to a
I'm sorry. That was funny.
well, you have a prosthetic. You can walk. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we go into like a comedy club, right? And the comedian spends 10 minutes making amputee jokes about you. And you just finally get fed up and you throw your boot at him. I mean, could you not
Okay.
consider that fighting words? Because they pinpointed you out of the thing and they kept going like,
No,
okay.
because the history is not there as it is with some other words.
But there is okay. I'm going to rebut that because there is a history with poor treatment of disabled and handicapped people.
Yeah, but not
a history of oppression with handicapped and disabled people that sometimes you get tired of it. And it's like, when do the jokes at someone else's expense finally end? And maybe it isn't until someone gets bitch slapped.
See, but at the same time, at a comedy club, you're seeing the comic, you paid to see the comic. You know what kind of comic you're going to go see.
Okay, I disagree with that. You don't always know the type of comic you're going to see. Sometimes you roll up in a comedy club and you're like, I've never heard of this person. I don't know if I'm going to like this person. And it turns out they're terrible. Trust me, I have been to some really bad comedic stuff and they're awful. But then I've been to some where they are hilarious and I've never heard of. So I disagree with that. You don't always know what you're going to get when you go to a comedy club. So, okay, say it's not a comedian. Say you're just out in public and you just start hearing someone go on a tirade about amputees and you're in the vicinity and you finally go over and you hit them upside the head and say something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. And maybe, I know this is my opinion, but I just feel like there are some things you just don't joke about. And putting people down because of things they can't fix just doesn't seem right to me.
Well, there you're getting into the morality versus the legality.
The morality versus the legality. And I'm trying. I guess I'm trying to justify the moral reason to bitch slap someone for being an ass.
Yeah, no,
none. And to me, that kind of feels like a problem. Like, they just get to continue being an ass. And there's no repercussions.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some possible defenses to battery.
Okay.
One is self-defense.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Just because you hit someone batters you you can batter back. Doesn't mean it's not a battery. It just means you have a defense to your own battery.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And you kind of use equal force for that defense to work. You just because you get hit,
Doesn't
someone
mean
punches
you
you.
beat them.
Correct.
Yeah. Like if Chris, I am gonna say this: his response to getting bitch slapped by Will Smith is exactly how I would have handled it. I would have been so thrown. I would have been like, I just got smacked by Will Smith. Like I would have had this. I'm sorry,
Right.
but his face. I'm sorry. That's probably the funniest thing in the whole situation is watching his reaction. But I digress.
Right. Now, this is going to be surprising to some people, but there is an intoxication defense.
Hold up. What? You mean I can blame being drunk and hit somebody?
The trick on this one is you cannot be voluntarily intoxicated.
Okay.
And now you're going to say, what? What do you mean? Involuntarily intoxicated? That means somebody basically drugged you. And for example, we know a guy that just was smoking weed, but apparently it was laced with flocka.
Yes. That's right. That poor kid.
That kid would have a defense if he battered somebody.
Yeah, if he had hit somebody or hurt somebody.
Right.
Which I don't think he did. I think he just destroyed their apartment. But oh my God, I haven't thought about that kid in so long. I really hope he's okay.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, it's a rare defense, but possible.
That would be his defense for him because he was just smoking weed and it turned out it was laced with some crap he didn't know about.
Right. You're at somebody's Halloween party.
Right. Yeah.
And you think it's just punch, and it tastes like punch.
Yeah.
Little did you know that there is a bunch of Everclear in that. And you just get totally wasted. And hit somebody.
Also,
possible defense.
Okay. That's okay. That's because that happens. We know that happens. That is a thing that happens a lot more than it should. Which is just a reason to know where your sources come from.
Right. Third defense could be coercion.
Coercion.
Yeah. That means you were forced to commit that battery because you were under threat of harm by someone else.
So
for example,
okay.
I'll use the slap as an example. If after he looked over and saw his wife did not appreciate the joke, and she walks over to him and says, I'm going to kick your ass if you don't do something, he'd have a defense.
To be fair, I think Jada could kick Chris Rock's ass on her own. Just saying.
Yeah, I do too. But
so okay, that makes sense because I mean, how many shows have we seen where they're held at gunpoint and they're forced to go punch somebody, or I mean, that's a very common thread in a lot of.
If you don't kick this guy's ass, I'm going to shoot your kid.
Yeah, exactly. Or like what we were just rewatching Jack Ryan last night, and the guy's family. Yeah, the guy came up to him and was like, "Hey, you want to take care of your grandma? Well, why don't you go make sure this guy dies?" Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
her mom.
This is one that really only gets used by police, and that's privilege. And that is by the virtue of your job, you get the right to commit battery in certain situations.
Is that how so many cops get away
Yeah,
with murdering someone? Or
that's one
harming
reason.
someone? That's
Yeah.
because it's my job, but it's not your job to kneel on someone's neck.
No, that wasn't. Well, that was a battery. That was also a murder.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a defense to murder.
Also, I think there was a recent one where it was not for 9 minutes, but it was for like 3 minutes. They kneeled.
Think it was a LA sheriff.
Yes, it was here in LA. That's why I remember it. Yeah. And they were in jail. They
Yeah.
did it to someone, and it was a black guy. He did it to a black guy who was in prison for like 3
Yes.
minutes.
Yeah,
I was
it
livid when I read that.
happens all the time.
It does. Okay.
Some stories gain press, some stories don't.
Yeah. Okay.
And then last but not least, you can consent to a battery.
Like if that was a bit.
Yeah, if that was a bit, if you're at a box.
I mean, I feel like when you're consenting to something, like none of yeah. Consent just, yeah. When you consent, it's okay.
Yeah. A boxing match.
Yeah. Doing a little bit, doing a skit, comedic, something like that.
Now, the consent can only go to what's reasonably expected.
Right.
For example, football players consent to being battered all the time. You can't be charged with a battery and taken to jail because you sacked the quarterback. However, after you sack the quarterback, if you take off your helmet and start pummeling them with it, that's a battery. You didn't consent to that because that's not something reasonably expected
in your job
by playing football.
I also think like football is such a good analogy when it comes to this kind of stuff, because it's not the person who starts the problem, that it's always the person who retaliates, which I think is kind of part of the issue, because sometimes like the person who caused you to retaliate needs to be held accountable for whatever their action is. You know what I mean? Like when you're watching a football game and they get all up in their face, like that's a reasonable reason to push someone out of your face. But the one who does the pushing is the one who gets penalized, not the one who's up in their face, doing whatever. And I personally think that's a problem. I think the person who's getting up in your face also needs to be held accountable and needs to be penalized because they clearly started it.
Yes. And I agree with you. The problem is you don't have enough refs to catch all of that initially. You only have the refs to catch it at the end.
But I mean, that's how it works in real life too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, seriously, like not talking about the slap, but just in general, like there's so many times where, like, for example, a girl is trying to, a girl hits a guy and she's the one who gets in trouble because I know quite a few women who have gotten in trouble because the guy was being creepy or getting all up in her face or just too much. And she punched him or maced him or did whatever to defend herself and get away. And she's the one who gets in trouble. In middle school, I got punched in the back of the head by a guy. I went to ISS because I responded to it. The dude hit me so hard I slid across the freaking the whole hallway on my knees. Like it took me down. But I got in trouble.
Yeah. And once again, that's an example of a battery without assault. Just saying.
I mean, in his defense, we were all being terrible 7th graders and throwing Skittles at everybody. He was not alone, and we were picking at each other and everything. His reaction was bad. But yeah, I was not happy with myself. I should have gotten in trouble, but not ISS because I didn't punch nobody. But that was his reaction to my, I guess, assault. And I'm the one who got in trouble. I don't know. But anyway, I think about that on the regular.
Okay.
I think about that situation on the regular because I look back at it now and I'm like, was I the bad kid? I kind of think I was. I don't think I deserved to be punched in the back of the head. But yeah, I was a shit kid and I kind of deserved to get called out for my behavior. But yeah, it feels like sometimes when it comes like now it feels like when it comes to this, morality and legality does not line up a lot of the time when it comes to assault and battery.
A lot. I wouldn't say a lot of time, but I would say it's not uncommon.
Like in this particular case, I don't think the morality and the legality line up because, I mean, personally, I side with Will Smith. You know, I don't think violence is the answer, and I don't think he should have hit him, but I understand why he responded the way he responded. I understand why he got angry and why Jada got angry and upset. And I don't think it was appropriate for Chris Rock to disparage someone who is vulnerable and going through a very hard time and dealing with something that she can't control. That's not a funny joke, and it never will be. To do that to people. But and I think at large, this says more about our society and what we think is funny and what we think is appropriate.
Well, remember, Will Smith laughed at it himself until he looked over at his wife.
And I have a weird opinion on that. And I don't think a lot of people have thought about that. But I think Will Smith was more angry at himself than he was at Chris Rock because he saw Jada and he saw that it hurt her and it bothered her. And so he was upset with himself for laughing at her expense. And he responded in a very poor manner. Now he's apologized for it, and I think his apology is very sincere. And I think that we have to hold grace to both Chris Rock and Will Smith and anyone who deals with anything like that, and hold grace with people and say, "Hey, you know what? You made a mistake. Shit happens." I don't think he should lose his Oscar, and if they do take his Oscar away, I will absolutely be down at the Academy Museum boycotting that shit, because if they take his Oscar away, they need to take the Oscars away from Roman Polanski, Woody Allen, and every other rapist and sexual assault person in Hollywood.
I'm not going to disagree with that. They gave Roman Polanski an Oscar while he's a fugitive from the U.S.
Yeah.
On the statutory rape.
I know. So if they didn't remove his Oscar away, they shouldn't remove Will's. I do think that they should. I can see some sanctions coming his way and some fines coming his way from the Academy and saying, here, this is what we're going to do. You need to pay these fines to the Academy. I can see that. I can see some fines and sanctions coming his way. You know, there needs to be some kind, you know, I can see them wanting to do some kind of punishment.
I don't know that they can fine him.
They probably can't, but if it is, like, I could see it happening if they can. You know what I mean? Like,
I know that they can suspend him.
They can suspend him.
His membership in the Academy and such.
Yeah.
Which would cause him not to be able to work for a while.
Yes. And I don't think he should lose. I don't think anybody should lose their job over a mistake. You can learn, hold grace to people who make mistakes. let's take this opportunity as a learning opportunity, and hopefully Chris Rock will learn from it and stop making jokes about people who can't control, their situation. Because disabled jokes just aren't funny. Um, and I mean, I realize we're kind of getting into the morality and the opinion of it, but like, I'm trying, like,
Trying not to.
it's really hard not to.
Yeah.
But like I said, like, it's not my place to have a fully fledged opinion on it, because it's Black people business. So that's my only thing, is I just hope that people take this opportunity and learn to treat each other with grace and understanding, and know that we all make mistakes. We all do stupid things, and nobody's perfect. And we have to stop putting celebrities on a pedestal, because nobody is perfect. And yes, their lives are way more public than ours, but we don't know everything that somebody's going through. And I do think it's kind of sad that sometimes the legalities of a situation doesn't really line up morally. Which is, I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting dilemma and dynamic when it comes to the law field and legalese and stuff, like, what you think is moral and good is not always justice.
Oh, by far. You have, I forget what movie it was. I think it was Biko.
I've never heard of that movie.
Late 80s. I think it was Denzel Washington in it. And the judge in that case says, you have law and you have justice. And in this country, they're not even kissing cousins. And it was a story about South African apartheid in the 80s.
Wow. Interesting.
And that's generally true here. You have law and you have justice.
And they don't always align.
They rarely intersect, in my opinion.
And I think that's a harsh reality that we have to come to understand. We have to understand. We have to come to understand and learn and just accept it.
Yeah, that's why so many people want to take justice into their own hands.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to find it in the courts most of the time. Now, I'm also going to say this. You can also civilly sue for assault or battery.
Oh, really?
So just because Chris Rock is not pressing charges at this time doesn't mean he can't come back and sue Will for damages.
Interesting.
For it. Yeah.
Do you think he's going to do that?
I doubt it.
I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to take the hit on the cheek and just go, okay, yep, I got smacked on the face.
Which,
that happened.
I think it's going to enter his joke sphere. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I would totally take that and put that in my yeah.
Apparently he already told a joke about it backstage after it happened. Nice. Because he said something to the fact, well, I got hit by Muhammad Ali and I don't even have a scratch.
Wow.
As we all know, Will Smith played Ali, and
yeah. But I think that's I hope that kind of clears up. Oh my God, this stupid. I hate this thing. Here we go.
That's the best $5 Goodwill chair.
No, it's not the chair. It's this plastic cover thing. It's not big enough, and so it gets caught. I need like a huge one. Anyway, that being said, I think this is a good place to wrap it up. Assault and battery is very confusing, and I think that I don't know. I feel better. I feel more knowledgeable on what actually is assault versus battery and why they tend to coincide. I am curious, like, so is it common to do assault without battery or more common to have battery without the assault?
I think battery without the assault is kind of rare.
Okay.
Because I think when you have the battery, they're going to charge you with the assault because they like to charge you with as much as possible.
Okay. I see.
And sometimes they will. I think it's more common to be charged with assault without a battery because they like to overcharge. And if they can see something as a possible assault, they will charge you with the possible assault.
Yeah. Interesting. This has been a very interesting talk. I appreciate it. We're gonna wrap it up here. It's a short podcast today. It's actually a pretty short subject to discuss.
Yeah.
It's sort of straightforward and sort of not. Like it's kind of vague, but it's also kind of like it has its parameters and you kind of stick in those parameters, right? Like
right. And generally, like I said, it's the same across the US. Different states can have variances on the general theme that we just discussed.
Yeah.
So look into your own state if you want to know the exact elements of those particular things.
Oh, before we wrap this up, there is some really cool news that I think is good that happened today. And if you don't know, you're going to learn on the podcast. Lynching is now considered a federal hate crime. That has
been about time.
Signed into law. So thank you, President Biden, for finally signing that into law. It should have been signed into law years ago. Lynching is now considered.
Actually, surprised they got votes in the Senate for that.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to hear that finally passed and that is now a law. So we're gonna wrap it up with that. That's really great news to hear because it's something that should have been on the books as a law against. It's something that should have been on the books years ago. And just a reminder, so awkward. I'm so great with segues. I've been doing podcasts for so long and I never learned how to do segues. It's great. I'm fantastic. I'm amazing. I'm such a professional. Anyway, we will not be here next Tuesday because we'll be recovering from our vacation. But we will be back the following Tuesday. So everybody have a wonderful weekend. And Thank you so much for listening to Learning the Law. If you like this,
thanks everyone.
And want to hear more, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share in all your favorite places. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Learning the Law, Ron at Necrokijo, that's NECROKIJO, and me at Phoenix Nymphy. If you have any questions, please tweet, comment, or email us at twolazydogsmedia@gmail.com. This has been a Two Lazy Dogs production.
Bye, everyone.